This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes that Mark sent out today?
You were late.
I actually did not.
Thank you.
I would like a copy too. Everybody else need a copy?
I got one from Charlie. One more here. So I noticed some typos.
Yeah, I've got that filled in there, make sure they're working. I didn't run spell check.
Well, under alternate funding request determined should have an E at the end after N.
I think I got that language.
Oh, I see, you sent that out already.
Well, I just handed him my marked up copy.
Oh, okay.
6 checks.
Your AI companion is not working very well.
When people are ready, I'll accept a motion to accept them as corrected.
I'll move the minutes.
Second,
A second.
all in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
And thank you, Mark, for doing that. All right, Scott, you're up. Any updates for us?
Oh.
I think that's next on the agenda.
So the select board will be voting on the ballot questions tomorrow night to see which ones to move forward with. Obviously, we have the override for the schools, and then the $3.2 million that was approved at town meeting a few weeks ago. So once that occurs, depending on which ones they approve, both 1, 2, they will go on the May 20th ballot.
Do you know in which order they'll be on?
That I don't know. I'd have to defer to Lucy for that one. I'm not sure which the order would be.
Okay, so it's up to town clerk to sort of randomly decide the order.
On the ballot or town
Yes,
meeting?
on the
On the
ballot.
ballot. Yeah, I'm not sure how that's done actually.
I think it's after the election of officers. I think the election of officers is first and then the questions are at the bottom.
Right, but I
Yeah.
was wondering which of the two questions, if both go on, which would be first?
Oh, I don't.
I do have the ballot language.
Oh,
I
did
can
you
read
do?
that to you.
Yeah, that would be helpful, I think.
So it will be, shall the town of Southampton be allowed to exempt from provisions of Proposition 2 1/2, so-called, the amounts required to pay for the bonds to be issued for engineering, architectural services to build a public safety building, and all costs incidental and related thereto, including an owner's project manager.
So it does not specify amount.
Right.
And that's standard, correct?
Doesn't it specify it in the motion itself or the warrant article, does it?
The article, no, the motion it would.
Okay, I couldn't remember if there, or the summary. Somewhere it does, but not in the actual article.
Yeah.
This is basically ratifying the town meeting.
Yeah. Exactly.
Town meeting is going to establish the amount.
Yes, I know that, but for someone who wasn't paying attention and didn't attend town meeting,
It's
then
a
how
problem.
do they know what they're
Yeah.
voting for?
It's kind of bizarre, actually.
So that's where it comes up in the summary or the summary section. So you've got the warrant article, the motion, and the summary. So if it's not in the motion, it's definitely in the summary in terms of the amount.
Okay, so that, the summary is on the ballot.
No, sorry, I'm in town meeting, hello.
Right, but
Sorry, I'm in town
that's
meeting.
done.
Correct, so, you're right. yeah.
So the voters just see that language, they don't see anything else?
I don't think they can, right? I mean, it's,
Yeah.
they,
Yeah, because we didn't, I think even for the land purchase one, right?
Right.
There was no money on the ballot at all.
Be recognized with a question, or would you prefer to not have me speak?
no, I'm willing. Is the committee willing that
Yes.
Cindy
I just
participate?
want to know, where does that come from? Is that a state law, or is it standard throughout, or?
Yeah,
What is that?
it's a state law, and I guess, I was talking to Jen about it again today, and I guess bond counsel said the reasoning is because technically the amount can change depending on interest and length and, refinancing, so putting it into the actual amount would kind of limit the future changes.
I still think they could say no more than X.
Or at least allow us to put a little blurb,
Yeah.
explain.
Yeah.
Is that a piece of information that we can try to get out prior?
So as far as that's concerned, so there's actually an advisory on public resources and campaigns. So okay, so for a so the campaign finance law does not, however, restrict the speech of public officials concerning a ballot question, such as comments supporting or opposing a question or statements made during a public meeting. If public officials were not allowed to discuss or to take positions on ballot questions that affect the public they serve, they would be hampered in that service. In conjunction with discussing and taking a position on ballot issues, public officials may prepare and make available information and materials in a manner that is consistent with the Anderson ruling. Examples of such allowable actions include preparing material and giving out copies at official meetings, sending it to voters who have requested more information, or posting it on a municipal website. Officials may hold meetings concerning ballot questions and prepare and distribute information at such meetings. They are not, however, allowed to distribute such materials to voters beyond the scope of such meetings at public expense. So as long as you're having it at a public meeting, you can advocate for it.
Hello, Cindy. Yes, go ahead.
Is it possible that someone outside of the public people meeting, people in this room, I not being one of them, could hold a sign up and, down at the end of the driveway where we often hold signs to support our candidate and say, this is for this amount of money, and have handouts, and it's
Yeah.
possible for that?
So that's only really as a committee. As individual citizens, you can do whatever you want to advocate for against anything.
The town just can't buy the resources that you're holding up.
Right.
Yeah.
And as public employees, we're a little bit more restricted on handling money. So if you're a public employee, you can't solicit money or handle it.
As a committee, could we stand out on the curb?
You might have to call an open meeting for it if you're all going to meet in one place. But yeah, technically you could.
What if you don't have a forum, one or two at a time? Seriously. Could they stand out or without calling a public meeting?
I mean, I would imagine that you can all just stand out and just happen to be there. That's the way I would do it.
I think having handouts though would have to be like right at the entrance door or something before you get into the town clerk's area, wouldn't you?
You have to be 100 feet.
You're at the end of the driveway.
Well, even for a handout.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's almost measured out by that tree. The last
Right.
time it got measured out.
That tree?
Yeah.
The large Christmas trees in that area.
The Christmas tree?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I think we talked the other day about it probably not being a topic of town meeting, because it's not on the ballot of town meeting. So
No, correct. At
it's really
annual
just
town
at
meeting,
the annual
it's
town
done.
meeting, which is 2 weeks before.
You could hand out handouts.
If you get Robert's permission.
I mean, there you could hand out, I'm sorry, I was trying to think, at the annual town meeting on the 6th, is it? You could be handing out handouts, but I think there, you've got to be outside Norris's. You could be on the sidewalk at Norris. I don't think you can be inside the school if it's not on the agenda, am I wrong?
But we could be at the door. You're
I
not
think you could
saying
at the
be
door.
out by the
Out,
road.
Yeah, be at the door, I think, or something like that, or on the sidewalk area, but I don't think you can even do handouts inside the building if it's not on the agenda. Right. Could be wrong.
I think we did a handout one time outside the door. I'm trying to remember what it was about. Where we had stuff.
And if it's outside, does that have to be okayed by Robert?
Outside on public property? No.
Well, I know we just yelled at people outside. Perhaps not correctly, but made them very angry. And they were outside. So I think, as a courtesy, I think we'd ask Robert just so that he wouldn't flag the handle.
All right, so that's one strategy. To handouts at public, at annual.
But again, would it be to advocate or just to inform?
The handout,
It depends on
we're speaking
whether-
about the handout that's already been handed out. So that's information.
Is that the one that's not here with the, which handout?
That was at town meeting. At special.
It had numbers on that. It had the 3.2 on it.
Yeah, it talked about
And
the
the full
tax
27.
impact,
Yeah.
and then the one that you looked at, the double-sided one with the picture on the
Yeah.
other side on it. Yeah.
Just talking out loud here. We got town meeting to vote to approve this. Going back to the town meeting to give information seems to be we're giving information to people that already have committed to us. We need to get the people that are gonna go vote that haven't committed.
That's right.
And I don't know how to approach them, but I'm just thinking that we need to move our efforts outside of that arena.
Do you think more people come to annual town meeting than came to the special town meeting? And i.e., you're reaching a few more people?
I think you're gonna see, my opinion, you're gonna see more people coming to the annual town meeting because of the override for the school.
Yeah.
That's gonna bring in new people. But I don't know how to interpret if they're gonna vote for the public safety complex and the school, or if they're just gonna be holding the banner for the school.
Right, we don't know. Oftentimes people come for single issues, but,
You can see that when they get up and leave after that article.
right,
It was-
right. So that's true, it will be redundant. There will be many people who have already read it if we're handing it out at annual town meeting, because it is that core that attends the meetings. So how much that will broaden awareness, it is probably minimal. But we ran into the trouble at our last meeting about, what we can even do. There's really not too much that can be done by the committee to alert the general population. Press releases, Scott has recommended press releases, but we can't do a mailing as a committee. We can't put out signs as a committee.
We can't do a mass phone call blast either. That would be advocating as well.
Right.
So our hands are kind of tied.
That's what it feels like to me.
So what we're saying is for the ballot question, the actual amount won't be on the ballot. The amount of 3.2 million is not in the ballot question.
Okay.
So we're talking about how do we inform other people that may not know, who didn't come to town meeting, to know even what they're voting for when they go to the ballot.
The other side of that argument is how many people actually are paying attention that there is an election in town? because there's no national elections going on, it's all local, and almost all the races are not of any contested race. So I think it's going to be pretty small this year.
I think we can assume that.
What's the percentage to have it pass? Is it a simple majority of the
Yes.
people who vote? 100 people vote, 51 say yes, we win.
So if you come in and vote 4 or 5 times, it'll help.
That'll be banished at the door.
Yeah.
So Chief, are you in agreement that we realize that we can't do too much before
I am, yeah.
the vote, and our efforts should then move beyond to what can be done, and here Cindy plays a role for the fall meeting. You're still game.
I'm eager, yeah.
Thank you.
I want to see it pass on this first ballot, because that's a necessary step, you know. But yeah, I'm eager to have that move, and don't know if it could be discussed now, but what strategies would be included, could be, and let me ask Scott another question. While the committee cannot actively inform or solicit or, you know, whatever word we want, can individuals who are citizens of our town, but perhaps in an elected role or an appointed role, make contributions should they choose to the municipal ballot question thing? Okay.
Yeah, as individuals, you can advocate for anything.
Anything, okay. So I personally would like to see some rallying of individuals who have expressed interest in making sure this happens, making sure we build this public safety building, and can make contributions, handwrite postcards, not the content, but the addresses, although we can get addresses from the town clerk, I do know that. Have to make decisions on whether we do lawn signs, and how else we do it. I'm not a social, I'm not a media person per se, and that part I'll have to think about. But we'll have the summer to work on that. We just got to get this passed in May first. That's what needs to get done. And so, if anyone here knows of anyone who's like to be on a committee for making sure this occurs, that you can have them give them my phone number and an email address.
Well, I know Janet Brown wants to be part of this. Every time she bumps into me, she wants to be on this.
Yeah, I know. Well, this is the committee, but will she be a part of?
I suspect so.
Yeah, okay, well, I know Janet pretty well, so I'll talk with her. Yeah, she's a hardworking volunteer in our town.
I asked Bill Barkham the other day. He's still interested.
Okay. Good. Yeah, we gotta get people out.
All right, so that's for beyond, and we will wait to hear, because you have to file some papers, I think.
Yeah. Well, again, that's the fall. I'm just trying to.
Correct.
I printed out the rules as supplied to you via the website that Scott found on how to do this.
And just for record here, when we had the special town election, right, for the Zero College Highway purchase, there were 1,030 people that turned out for that one, and that was last year. And then,
That's the ballot? Is that what you're referring to? 1,030 that went into vote?
yes.
Okay.
And then the town election in May of '23, there were 661 total. And that didn't have anything but people on it, had no,
Suspect.
oh, no, I'm sorry, did have a ballot, it had the ballot question for the fire, the override for the fire. It did? Sorry.
The only time I've ever seen large numbers is if it's a presidential election or something like that, but usually when it's just a straight town. May I ask a question? Is the select board going to reformulate this committee when this passes next month?
That was discussed at last meeting, and yes, there will be a new mission statement written.
Will this reformulate the committee?
Yes. So it was decided, and I think it was mentioned in the minutes, that new members no new members would be taken on until after the ballot after the fall election, town meeting and election, the special town, for the full sum. And a new mission was written.
So there wouldn't be a new mission. Assuming it passes next month, there'd be no new mission statement because we would be now starting to move forward.
Oh, well, so, I think it was, Chris and Scott need to clarify that then, because it was decided that a new mission would be written, and would it be post-May meeting or post-fall meeting? I was under the impression it was fall,
I was thinking it was fall, but I don't know. I'd have to go back and remember what we said.
I think it was
Clarify
fall.
that in our minutes or not.
I think it
I
was
think
fall.
it was fall too.
It was, because why have
Yeah.
a new
Why would a
mission
new committee
when we
in
don't
summer
even know
when
it's,
we're
we're not even
working on
sure.
paperwork stuff, but
Right,
not,
or we're not even sure what's gonna happen.
Right, no money is going to be spent, it's only paperwork that's going to be done between now and then, so that's my recollection
And
anyway.
that's fine, it just,
Yeah.
people ask you questions, and I just
Right.
try to make sure I understand what's
Yeah, yeah.
going on.
So that is, now I think Chris read to us from the website what the mission statement says, and it is clear that we are past that now and need a new one.
Well, I agree with that, that's,
Right.
well, I think I'm gonna wander over to the Board of Health meeting.
Yes, I don't think, does anyone have any insights or suggestions about anything to do other than tread water? Get
Good point.
a press release out, and maybe make some signs, at least with the figure on it, to hold out at the curb? Are committee members?
the day of the election.
Yeah, to be out, to take turns standing out on the curb with some information signs.
Yep.
Okay. Could they be just put on sticks and put in the ground, or does it have to be accompanied?
No, we don't have that bylaw. That became a contention. So you can actually, you don't have to stand by your sign.
You don't?
No, that's a city or town bylaw. And I know that only because the last time that occurred, and the sheriff's department, the county sheriff he called us and said, there's people out there not manning their signs. And we looked into the law, and that's strictly to public, that's defined by city ordinance or town bylaw. So you do not have to man your sign, if you will, or occupy your sign. That's not a requirement by law. I know that, just.
For all of us that have ever stood out, we
Could that information be put up on the signboard, the Lions signboard?
I'm still a little confused about what exactly information you're gonna put up. You're gonna say
Oh, the
3.2
figure.
million, is that just a dollar amount we're gonna show up and people will not know what that means? I don't know how you do that on a very simple sign for people driving by.
I mean,
I'm not sure what the message is specifically going to
If you're
say.
looking at a sign that says vote yes for question 2,
Yeah.
if you know question 2 is on the ballot,
Right,
and that's supporting it, that's your message.
right.
No, but we're talking about the amount of money. That's
I know,
the
that's the
mystery.
problem, yeah.
Yeah,
Then you have to qualify it to say it's this isn't what the whole thing costs, because that could be deceiving. Someone thinks
That's right.
3.2 is going to build a building.
It's not even a big syllable.
I think a handout is the best thing, you know? You can just hand them out.
But who are we handing them to?
The people driving in and ready to vote.
I kind of want to push back on Scott on that, not having the number in the question. It just seems so wrong.
I agree.
Because you don't know what you're, how can anyone know what they're voting on if it doesn't describe what it is they're voting on? Is there what, have you exhausted all? Do you think you've exhausted all?
Yeah, it comes directly from the bond council.
It just isn't.
You call your senator.
Yeah.
And I asked Jen to reiterate that to the bond council this morning, and she still said no, we couldn't do it. So she had a call from them at 10 o'clock. There's some other things.
So there's an actual outright prohibition of putting the number on the question?
Not under the ballot, it specifically say for design purpose only, not for construction.
You can make the ballot question a little clearer.
I think it says that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Just on the city.
And hiring the OPM.
And hiring a private, but not for construction.
You have to build a public safety building at all costs incidental and related thereto, including an owner's project manager.
About 3 million.
I would think it's actually the opposite, that if you don't have the number, you don't have a valid approval to move forward. I mean, really, if you don't have,
Town meeting approved it
if you're not being specific as to what you're getting, then you don't really have anything. Why can't we go spend $5 million on it, or $10 million?
Unfortunately, there's a lot of antiquated
You're still limited by
laws
how many
and
people vote.
limitations in Mass.
So could you put the language of the warrant on there as well then, just to be clear?
But even that, read that again, Scott, because that just talked about architectural and,
Shall the town of Southampton be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2 and 1/2, so-called, the amounts required to pay for the bonds to be issued for engineering, architectural services to build a public safety building, and all costs incidental and related thereto, including an owner's project manager?
I mean, my job was approving loans and you don't approve a loan unless you know the amount. So how can you have an approval if you don't have the amount?
What does the other override question? Can you read that one, Scott? Do you have that?
That one is, shall the town of Southampton be allowed to assess an additional $897,069 in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of supplementing the funding for the operating budget for the Norris Elementary School for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025?
Awfully specific.
And that's for just 1 year.
That's
No.
perpetuity.
That's in,
that's a real override.
I know, and it's what I'm hearing is, did we not vote for this several years ago? An override for the school?
Didn't pass it.
No, it didn't.
It didn't pass.
Could you add?
So I would put it back to you, and that's an exact amount that they're asking for. So why can't you do it?
Why is
I mean,
this different?
I would actually ignore bond counsel. And
Oh.
I would do it.
Yes,
Because
Who's going to jail?
You can't ignore bond
they're
counsel.
not necessarily, I
They
can't believe that they're correct.
because they're from the lending, and they won't go through with anything unless everything is specific to their.
Can you put in there a sum not to exceed?
Now, that's what I would think.
Or it's supposed to, if their question was that it can change, or their comment was that it can change because interest and you don't know what interest is, can you not say that, an amount not including interest or something? I mean, something that, narrows the language a little bit? I mean, even that, and any costs related thereto,
That's scary.
if I didn't quite understand that more clearly, I would think that it could be the entire
Brick and
building.
mortar, yeah.
I wouldn't focus my eyes just on the architectural costs when I hear, and any costs related thereto. I mean, I think I would jump, not knowing anything, I would jump to a bigger picture of maybe the.
Did the law firm provide this language?
Maybe you need to get a new law firm.
So Scott, just please describe the difference between being able to put a specific sum on the first question and not on the second.
Well, the first one is raising the levy by a specific amount. So you're
A set amount.
right.
not
So you're
to-
actually adding X amount of dollars to the tax levy that we can raise.
It's permanent.
Right. The other one, which is borrowing, there's not a specific amount because you don't know technically what the actual amount will be.
Okay, so it's borrowing versus tax levy.
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
But we can say we are not going to borrow anything different than 3.2. It would just be held to it. You know, if it's short, it's short, and if it's a
Well,
little more, we'll find it.
It will be more than 3.2 with interest, though.
Unfortunately, I think, Scott, the hands are tied. It's the law, you know, it's right. I mean, imagine it's got to be
We have
some
to
sort of
follow the
language.
law. Is that what we're supposed to do here?
Ask Cindy about that.
Watch it.
Could it also say what we said at town meeting, specifically that this will not be spent if the entire amount is not approved? You remember that?
I mean,
Can that be said again?
can't be put on the ballot. It has to be limited to the ballot question.
Is it verboten to give people a postcard as they go in with what it is and why it got to that point, and that it's actually a bargain, or kind of sell ourselves without being too obvious?
You just gotta do it down there. You can't do it in front of Lucy's office.
No, right, right.
But it's funny because I went back a couple years ago to elections. So here's one on getting a wheel loader for the highway department. All it was, required to pay for the bond in order to pay for the cost of purchase of a new 35,000 pound GVW wheel loader for the highway department. No money.
It passed.
But that's after it passed at town meeting too.
This one passed at town meeting.
I know, but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is the sum has been put out there publicly in
Right.
every circumstance. It's
Right.
just that when it goes to the ballot, it's not on the ballot itself. I think we are moving forward with the way it's always been. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, that was a ballot question.
Mm.
That's the way it is, apparently, for anything like that.
So Mark, getting back to your comment about what message, if we hold signs or whatever, so what do you think? Keep on with that thought.
Yeah, and was done earlier, just put in a, you know, explaining the $3.2 million, but that's, you can't do that on a sign, and people are gonna have 2 seconds to read it. I think that's, you can say vote yes on public safety committee, public safety building. I mean, I think that's if you're able to, you know, be positive about the site, but I don't think you have an ability just to give a lot of information on the site. You can't, to another walking in the door, you can't explain what we've been doing for the last 3 years.
No,
So-
of course not. So you're of the mind that we can't even, or we shouldn't even try to give it a figure so that people are coming in knowing what the figure is regarding the ballot
I
question.
think our best option is to get another article in the
Oh, yeah.
Gazette.
Yeah. Well,
Explain
yeah.
exactly.
It's been out there before
Yeah,
for those
but
few
explain
who
this,
read the
ballot
Gazette
question,
still.
Specifically request only.
Well, and we haven't had much in the reminder lately, which is interesting, because I'm now seeing the reminder cover East Hampton, which didn't used to qualify as a hill town, so I'm not sure how they're getting included, but we used to have reporters come to select board from the reminder, and they haven't shown up in months. So maybe we need to put it out in the reminder as well.
Are they even being distributed? I think,
They're down, you pick them up, they don't.
well, I know, but they
don't
used to
throw
be
'em out.
thrown on
Oh, they
my
gave
old
up.
driveway.
They gave up that a long time ago, but you're picking them up around town, they're in various locations around town. But it's certainly the Gazette, I mean, I'm sure Alexa would do an article without much problem.
And she did that before the town
Mhm.
meeting, that where the figure was put in.
I would.
Okay.
What about the postcard idea? If
Well, we talked about a handout. Well, but then if we're doing a new postcard, then it's printing costs, right? Who's gonna
I don't
pay
mean
for
a
it?
mailing, I mean to hand out a postcard with all the data on it.
I know, but the postcard has to be printed,
Right.
designed and printed. That's what I meant, that there's still some cost incurred.
Right.
If you wanted to do that as an individual without,
And I'm thinking of doing that, Barry, as an individual,
Yeah.
as a non-resident to support the success of this, to get this that far. And I'm looking for people to give me names and addresses of who to send them to. And it's not going to be on public funds, it's going to be on private funds.
Well, I'm picturing handing them to people that drive in
And
to
that could
vote,
be available too, yeah.
rather than even mailing them.
Both. I'm thinking, get them to the vote to begin with, and then they
Yeah.
don't have their postcard with it. And that leads me to another question, Scott. What if somebody's handed a postcard or something, and they walk in with it?
They can't.
So what happens? How does that
Well,
work?
they can't have it displayed. Like, you're not even
They
allowed
gotta
to
put it
wear
in their
pins
pocket, they
or
gotta-
stickers or anything like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
they can't have anything displayed.
Because they will. They'll walk in and they'll have it in their hands. And so we'll get a policeman there saying, put it away.
Yep. Yes,
Well, that's a
yeah,
good thing,
yeah.
you know,
Yes.
to keep them from,
Yeah. We have to.
yeah.
I didn't.
And the handout, it's difficult too, because as they're driving in and they're parking. And we have to be, you can't give anything, I think it's 150 feet from the entrance, which is right around the Christmas tree. So they're gonna be driving right by you.
Yeah, you want coming in there, you
Yeah.
have a stop for somebody.
Okay.
Well, I don't know, it's been,
I mean, we could do the electronic sign, yeah, occasionally, or no?
it's a town sign.
But again, it would be vote for public safety or something like that. You gotta get that message really concise to fit in
I'm not
there.
sure you can do that. That's an asset, that's advocacy.
Yeah, it's a town resource, I don't think would be, I think at least get that informational letter out again at the annual town meeting, if we reach out to Robert and just say, this is what we'd like to do outside of the building, is that something that we can do? Just as another form of information, the information pamphlet that Scott developed.
I think that letter was excellent. Getting that out again would be a hard.
I mean, there's gonna be more people coming to that meeting for sure with the override. So you will be getting more of the message out.
All right.
My next meeting.
So we still have copies left over, or we can make more copies? Are you revising that one, or no?
yes, I think that has to be, well, I was waiting to know whether it was going to be on the ballot. Thank you very much.
Good to see you
Yeah,
all.
thanks.
Jerry, I'll see you. You're first up the bat tomorrow.
We'll be concise, we'll be quick.
See you guys.
So I thought there was no point in spending more volunteer time on it until I knew whether it was on the ballot. Now, when I hear tomorrow night that it indeed is going to be on the ballot, then I will add some language about the renovation of the old existing buildings.
Yeah, we were gonna try and tinker it, right? Tinker with it a little bit to respond to a couple of questions that came up at the special town meeting. But it's basically pretty much the same handout with a couple of modifications.
Yes, yes, not extending it in length,
No.
but trying to answer some of the questions that were posed at town meeting.
And then we'd have the tax implication part too, right, Scott? You've got, and the tax implication part of that as well, that same handout.
So we would need to have more of those printed, I assume, because I don't know how many were, well, the information sheet, if it's modified, would have to be reprinted. There may be. I think the tax implication sheet is an important one to hand out, and hopefully people who have already read both of those sheets at the other town meeting would not
Yeah,
need
you
to
might
take it
I
again.
mean, have them available, knows that they've already seen it, wouldn't take it, maybe, I don't know.
Should there be a modification on the header of that that says, this was voted at the special town meeting, it will not be voted at the annual town, this is for informational purposes only, something so somebody isn't entirely confused when they walk in and it's nothing to do with what's on the annual town meeting.
That's a good point, to differentiate it. Could be handed out at the end.
Or put something on there just saying, this will be on the ballot, May 20th, or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, exactly.
Information for the ballot, question on May 20th.
I think that is correct, that something needs to.
So Scott, could we do some printing here?
Yeah, we can reprint some of those. Yeah, the basic stuff, I think that'll be okay.
Okay, so I'll make a note that that has to change. All right, so have we exhausted this topic for today?
Yeah.
Have we gotten anywhere?
No, I mean, I think, we'll vote on it tomorrow. I don't know how we're all feeling. I don't know that we're all on the same wavelength or not in terms of putting it on the ballot or not putting it on the ballot. I mean, we were at select board, I think we were taken a bit by surprise with the need for the override. We had foreseen that coming in such a large number that we were going to have an override. And we had planned for a few percentage points increase in the Norris budget, but not as much as what was asked for. So, but I think at the same time, many of us were feeling at the last meeting, among the select board at least, that we needed to put it before the voters and let the voters decide what to do, one way or another, whether it's the override or the public safety conflict. So I think we were all kind of leaning to putting it on the ballot and taking our chances. I think it's a risk no matter which way we do it. When you were talking about, Reggie, I think at the FinCom, from the FinCom point of view, if we didn't put the public safety on the ballot now, what are we gaining? I mean, we're going to have to pick it all up again in the fall and essentially redo the whole thing. And people know that we've already asked for this, at least those that have been on at town meeting. So, you don't want to get perceived as trying to hide something. There's nothing to hide. It's there. People should know this by now, what it's going to cost. So, we're not saving anything by not putting it on the ballot, but I think it is a bit risky whether you get people voting for both things. So, I don't know.
Well, yes, and it could go either way.
Yeah, it might even have a different detrimental effect on the override for all we know.
Right.
Good. So.
Yes, so, anyway, it seems to me that the amount of or the type of explanation for not putting it back on seems to me like it would be tricky.
Yeah, it wasn't a strong argument to not put it on the ballot. I think the consensus was let's just keep moving forward. We've got some momentum behind us, let's keep going with it and see where we go.
And also it was clarified at that meeting that if it does not pass in May, it doesn't kill the project. It means that we are going for the entire sum in the fall.
Yep.
So that's, we at least know we are moving forward regardless.
Yep.
And that was new new information for me. I don't know whether everybody else understood that or not.
We won't really have any time to change it though. It's going to be the $27 million number because we can't go back and whittle it down anymore. So we're putting the same question out.
Right, but it doesn't kill the entire project. The outcome of this doesn't have a chance of killing.
Asking again to move forward.
Right.
For the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, with that in mind, I mean, I'm not thinking about that point. When I'm thinking that we have to get it passed this time, but you're just repeating, it's not necessary. So how much energy and
It's
and donations can we, it's still important, but, okay,
You know, I think we do whatever we can do to publicize now,
okay.
because I think we have to put our best effort forward, and if it doesn't pass, then we just got a giant hill to climb in the fall.
If it doesn't pass now, that's very doubtful it'll pass in the fall. It's going to be harder to get it passed in the fall, probably.
So I think we should keep on trying to
I think so too.
do whatever we can do and get the word out however we can.
Build some positive momentum.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any other business?
We owe, there's about $16,800 left contractually owed to HKT, and we have about $17,700 in ARPA funds, so we're right on target.
And when do we have to pay them? Is it like now? Or?
No, when I get the next invoice. I just haven't got it yet.
Is it anticipated or is it not anticipated until,
I think it's until we get everything finalized.
and that would mean if they're going to be present at special town meeting in the fall, then that is the time that their contract will be complete.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
But you do have enough ARPA money left? to
Yes,
cover?
yeah, we'll have about $800 left.
That'll buy us some good beers.
I know.
Good.
Alrighty, then next meeting,
After the election. I mean, I don't.
Is there any point-
Is there any, I mean,
I think at this point, whatever takes place leading up to the election is going to be self-motivation, correct? That we're not acting as a committee, that each of us will be acting individually, and I encourage everybody to be creative and, just keep trying to get word out. So shall we just plan on meeting after the election? Is that the next necessary time? So can I have some dates, or should we just wait?
Let's just wait
And then I'll schedule it for the Monday after the election. Does that make sense, whatever date that is?
Is that Memorial Day weekend?
Oh, is that?
Just in case it's Memorial Day, it probably should be another day.
Yes. It would, yes, it couldn't be Memorial. And it turns out, I mean, historically, Mondays are our best day. So I think, okay, so it will be the Monday after Memorial Day.
June 2nd.
Summer's here.
that is fine already.
We're talking June already. I'm still not used to riding 2025.
Guess what, 2026 is coming, right?
All right, thank you, committee, for your earnest efforts and for coming. Yeah, I know, well, I have to have a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
I-
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.